All right, welcome everybody to the Beer and Skittles podcast. On this episode, we are going to talk about adaptations, specifically going from movie to video game and vice versa, video game to movie. If you've written a story, if you're telling a story, it's all fair game. It can be adapted a million different ways, and we've seen that. Hollywood does it all the time. Nothing is safe. Your story can go in any direction through any medium. Video games are the ultimate form of storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, when you really think about it, nothing gets more intense than doing it yourself.
Yeah.
So, like, when you're talking about an action game, like, I know, like, if I'm playing, like, Call of Duty or Fortnite or something, nothing gets my heart racing more than when I'm in, like, the final five part of a fight. Like, my heart doesn't race like that when I'm watching an action movie. But when I'm doing it, I'm like, oh, holy shit, I could win. Like, this is intense. Like, my heart races. When you're playing a horror game, like, sometimes you're watching something. Yeah. You'll watch something, you're like, if you want to, you could, like...
You just close your eyes.
Close your eyes. You could turn your head if you're really scared. Or, like, sometimes you're just like, yeah, but it's not happening to me. When you're like, oh, I have to push the trigger forward to then go into the room that I know something's going to jump out at me, that's when you're beating.
Yeah.
Like, that's the heartbeat right
You can't
there.
pause. You can pause the game, but nothing's going to happen. You can just turn away from the movie and, like, wait for the scare to go away and then keep watching.
And even as, like, games evolve, like, sometimes you get, like, because you get into a mindset where you are this main character, where you are the character, and sometimes you get, like, really legendary performances. Like, I think the most cliche one to say, which because it's fucking amazing, is when you talk about Far Cry 3.
Oh, yeah.
Voss is one of the best villains in all types of media. And it's because as games are evolving, they're getting better. Like, their
graphics and everything.
You see it, like, this person looks real, and they're focusing more on, like, make this a good story.
Well, like, you see that with God of War. When God of War came back in, the 2018 God of War took it the whole series in a completely new direction. And Cory Barlog he directed God of War 2, and then he started the production on God of War 3 before he, like, departed that project. When he came back, he had a kid, and he was like, this is the story we're going to tell. This is where we're going now. And it works, but also it's so emotional. And it's like, not that the early stories of God of War weren't, but like
the initial story's emotional.
Yeah.
Like, this guy who was tricked and, like, his whole family dies and everybody he knows dies and he's covered in the... Like, it's all so emotional.
But the gameplay changes.
After that.
Yeah.
It's like, now it's just a guy rampaging, killing a bunch of gods.
Yeah.
So then you lose the emotion, but when you bring the kid in...
coming into God of War 2018, now he's the dad again, and now the wife is dead, and he's like, how do I do this on my own? This is a guy who he's murdered gods. How do I now raise a son?
Yeah. And then now he's back to murdering gods, and he has to bring his son with him and protect him and teach him how to be a man, basically, on this journey.
And also
no one else is
trying to break the cycle, not only bringing him on this journey, but hoping he doesn't turn into you. You're like, I don't want him to be me. I need him to be better. We need to be better. We need to break this cycle.
It like, bringing a kid into something automatically brings emotion. Like, when we had an episode on the Marvels. Like, we said, Carol's character is so much better because of Kamala, because a kid just brings out so many different aspects in your character, and it's the same thing in video games for Kratos.
Yeah, and you see it even in The Last of Us, both in the game and in the show. Yeah. Ellie brings this humanity to Joel that he thought he lost.
Another one, back in the old Walking Dead video game.
Yeah.
Like, where it's all decision-based and choice-based. So, like, when you're in that game, like, it's the man that finds the little girl, and, like, makes everything, like, 10 times, like, more emotional because he's, like, trying to protect this kid. So, like, when it comes into something like that, like... It's like it brings another layer, so it's not just movies. It brings another layer in video games too.
Yeah.
So video game stories are just getting 100 times better now.
And it's because you look at movies. Movies are a combination of the storytelling, the written word, like you would in a book. But the difference is it's visual. But then there's the music that's in there, and music is also another form of storytelling. And you're combining all these elements together that. Then in a video game, there's even written stuff because now you're picking up collectibles and you're reading more background and story and lore. And, like, there's so... I think video games are the ultimate expression of, like,
especially
what can we tell?
You're watching a 3-hour movie, but you're putting in 50 hours of gameplay on a video game. So you're getting so, like, that you're getting more hours out of a video game than you are a TV show, a movie,
Absolutely.
or a book.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of things in there, but today we're going to specifically be talking about adaptations, which there's been adaptations out there where they've turned movies into video games and video games into movies. However, they seem to most of the time not get it right.
Yeah.
Like we're looking at like the Assassin's Creed movie,
Horrible.
all of the different types of movie video games that we've gotten. Like Spider-Man's gotten a couple like movie-based video games.
Yeah.
They're all usually pretty bad. They're very short usually. Like they don't have a lot of gameplay to them. And vice versa. When you turn a movie into a video game, you feel like you lost 90% of your story, and you don't really get like any type of the emotion that you got previously. So like it's pretty interesting. So today we're going to be exploring and talking about what we would do if we had the chance to turn a video game to a movie into a video game. We might even explore other types of media as well, like books and TV shows and
Yep.
animation and such. So we're going to get into this. What video game would you want to turn into a movie?
So this one is just a personal favorite of mine. I've loved the Devil May Cry games and grew up playing them, and I would 100%. I think it's also the nostalgia in me that loves the early 2000s movies that just aren't really made anymore today, like Underworld or even like the early Resident Evil movies, like that
Yeah.
kind of like the tone and stuff
Where
of it.
everything is almost exaggerated, but it's very dark. It's gritty. A lot of practical effects. They don't really love using. So like you see like costume design is
Yeah.
huge. And
Yeah.
it's like a big part
The
of it.
sets are there,
Yeah.
yeah. And even the CGI. There's something to be said for CGI of the early 2000s. Do you remember Davy Jones in Pirates of the Caribbean?
Oh, yeah.
How the fuck does he look that good? And in today's times, like, we can't even get, like, there was some kind of deal with the devil made with the early 2000s. Even look at which is weird because even today, the Planet of the Apes movies, the ones that Matt Reeves did, phenomenal. The motion capture, the CGI of it is so good, and it's like half the budget of like big like Fast and the Furious. Looks like it's like a really bad video game. Like it looks like terribly animated. But I don't know. There's something about like that early 2000s that I love. If I was doing Devil May Cry, and I think it could work as a movie because you've done Resident Evil, I would probably, and this is a controversial opinion, but I loved the game when it came out. I also have a lot of nostalgia around it because I played it at Comic-Con. But the Devil May Cry remake that Ninja Theory did.
I remember when that one came out. We went to Comic-Con.
We went to Comic-Con, yeah, and I played
You
a
waited
demo
to
of
play
it.
that
I
on
waited,
that.
yeah,
You waited to
for
play that
hours. And it stuck with me, and I loved the game. Now, I would keep elements, like design-wise, in the idea of Dante and Virgil. Just, they're twins. That's always been their thing. They're brothers. I would keep them, that idea of them being half angel, half demon, instead of just the half demon, human. I also, because the gameplay in the remake, where your weapon, the sword, changed based on if you were using demonic power or angelic power, so it was an axe or a scythe. I just love that idea. And I think there's more you can explore and do with that world if you were to branch off and really show that.
So would you morph that into a movie or a TV show?
I think it could still be a movie. I think it could still be a movie.
You don't think there's too much story that would get lost?
I don't think so, because I think you can do the movie where you're introduced to Dante, and similar to the remake where you're introduced, he doesn't even know, and in the originals, he doesn't know about his brother and stuff like that. So he's like running this demon hunting business, because I'm still going to pull elements from the original series, especially with like what's lacking in the remake where like the demon designs and like the variety of like demons. So I'm definitely going to pull from like the old games. He's running this demon hunting business. He gets approached by, we can take our pick. We have Lady, we have Trish, we have all of these like other strong female characters. That's the other thing that I loved about like Resident Evil, Underworld. You get these really strong female leads in these action movies, right? Having them come in, kind of bring him in, and then they're working with his brother, and he starts working with his now long lost brother, his twin brother that he just found out about to, yeah, no, all these demons you've been hunting, it's the Demon King. And he's like running in. What I like too about the remake was like the other demons are in the game Bob Barrios, he's like this new, which is hilarious, right? And he's like he's pushing this agenda because he's a demon, but he's a news anchor, right? And nobody knows except for the people that, you know what I mean? Like, so he then like you go and hunt him down and stuff like that. So like taking on these demons, you can kind of have fun with that aspect of it. And at the end of it, you find out that Virgil's whole plan was, yeah, we took down the Demon King, and now we'll sit on his throne. Like, humans can't run things themselves. We'll just be better than he was. And it puts him, and then you end the movie with Dante and Virgil fighting after taking down the Demon King, of like, okay, now they fight, and now they're at odds, and they split. And that's kind of like the first movie. And I don't think it's too much story. I think it can still work concisely of, you know, they work together, they hunt the demon, and it's very formulaic, you know? Hunt the demon, and then come together, and then they fight, end of the movie.
Yeah. I mean, Devil May Cry is one of those games that, for how early it was, it visually looked amazing. And to be able to get that, and I think you're right when you're saying using practical effects like that early
because I'm also, there's a lot of action. I'm seeing a lot of, like, in my mind, it's following that, those early 2000s action movies of, like, it's practical. We're fighting, you know what I mean? And even if, nowadays we are CGIing the demons, but like there's still got to be some practicality on set of, like, he's in this coat.
I almost see, like, visually, I almost see it like the live action Cowboy Bebop show, where like they made everything pretty accurate, but it still looked good. Like, there's a cheesiness to it because, like, Dante in himself, big red trench coat, white swoopy hair.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there's a bit of campiness to it, but I think if you do it correctly in the right setting, it can still look right.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think you bring in like a stunt coordinator that did like the Daredevil show on Netflix and have some,
dude, those hall fights.
That's what I'm talking about. You know, and you're fighting these demons, and then also you're bringing in, like, the music is also another big part of it. Like, what was awesome about the Devil May Cry games was like the hard, like, emo rock that's playing as you're fighting demons. It gets you super hype and into it. Like, okay, that's the soundtrack is going to be a big part of this movie because it's like when the action is happening, like, the music is hard and you're like, yeah, fucking let's go, let's get it, let's get him. You know, like, you're just as hype as he's fighting, and even when he gets hit, you know, you're like, you know, I picture like him getting hit by a demon, whatever, spitting out blood, tooth maybe, whatever, and like smiling, getting back up and going back in, and the music is just carrying through this action, almost like something like the club scenes in John Wick. You know, of like the music is bumping and you're watching, they're shooting, and I mean it's you know, it's all gunfights, but like it's still like you're like, yeah, it gets you hype, more hype even when he's losing a fight.
Speaking of John Wick was one of the ones that I thought had, for the vice versa, turning John Wick into a video game. I think there's so much potential that you could do, because in a movie you can do a lot of things visually, but when you're animating and you're doing all this stuff, there's so much more you can do in a video game.
Yeah.
And like those dark tones and like those scenes where you see like the rain and the clubs and all this stuff, like there's so much stuff they do with filming that in the video game verse I think could look even better. Yeah. And with somebody like John Wick, where you have like all of those fight sequences, imagine playing playing as John Wick in a video game.
It would be
not just in Fortnite, like a skin.
Yeah,
like
no. Actually playing John Wick
and getting his gameplay for like what he can do.
I picture it as two ways. There are two different, and if you take elements from both, one, Max Payne, especially Max Payne 3, where he's an older Max Payne. You know what I mean? Because like in the John Wick movies, he's older. He's already established. So if you're doing that, older Max Payne, you have like these slow motion kind of sequences where you're like fighting and doing all that, but also the ability to kind of play the mission the way you want, like the Hitman games, especially the newer ones.
I loved the Hitman games.
Yeah,
like that is a cool concept to go about, because now it's not just shooting and fighting and all, like it's not like you're playing, you know, like Arkham Knight, you know, like 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 you want, like you don't want to take on 10 guys. You want,
but you can
absolutely,
you can
if you need to. But the sneaking around and doing the fun part is like sometimes that's my favorite way to play a game. Like sometimes it's cool to just like get out there and start a ruckus. But like if I'm playing Assassin's Creed a lot of times I'm
sneaking around. I'm assassinating. Yeah, I'm an assassin. Yeah.
Sometimes it's more fun than just jumping.
But I think, you know what? Mentioning Arkham, that Keanu's character, John Wick, he's a martial artist. He can throw down. It's not just guns. He can throw down. So having
that's cool gameplay to use.
Having an Arkham level hand-to-hand combat, but also the ability to, all right, I'm going to put on a disguise. I'm going to poison this drink. I'm going to try to assassinate. But then, all right, I assassinated. I killed the guy. My target. But now I got to leave. And it turns into a brawl and you're fighting 15 guys. Yeah, absolutely. Give me a combination of that gameplay.
Yeah. No, you're right. Arkham gameplay with the John Wick style game would be amazing. I mean, speaking on Keanu and everything, then also The Matrix. I mean,
it's almost like it should be already a thing. It's already. Yeah.
I mean, it should have its own franchise of games. To me, it should be huge. It's such a no-brainer of the cool things that you could do with those fight sequences. I mean, there's a universe for The Matrix. There's so much story that can be told. There's so many different characters you could explore going through video games and whatnot. And then getting into it, I mean, the whole, thing with The Matrix is that, you do the slow motion, the bullet passes.
Yeah.
To me, if you could have, a designated button on your control, not just, a sequence happens and you have to press the button at the right time. To me, that would be a whack way to go about it.
Yeah,
But to manually do it, have a button. So where you could slow down time
instead of the quick time events.
Yeah. So that you could be but if you don't do it, you'll die.
You know what game did something like that actually? And it's a video game adaptation of a movie, which is a movie adaptation of a comic book, is Wanted. With Angelina Jolie and I'm drawing a name. I'll blank on his name. James McAvoy played the lead in that. They did a video game based on that movie, and in it, because you can curve the bullets and everything, you have this slow time when you're doing that. It's I think it might have been a meter that built up, but you press the button and basically everything kind of slows down, so you can do all of those crazy techniques and stuff, and you curve the bullets and everything. Really, really fun gameplay. Is it a great game? Not necessarily, but
I think because this game is such great gameplay. I think there's a way that in the Arkham games you can slow down time, you can visually, but you can't do anything about you're not fighting in the slow mo.
No, I think you're right. When you're scanning and stuff,
you can you can put yourself in a scan mode even if you're in action. It'll slow down everything so you can see things, but you can't fight in that mode because you have to release the button to, I believe. Yeah. I haven't played the game in a while, but if my memory's serving me right, so I would kind of have it doing that, where at any time, at any point, you could click that button, but I would have it so you could do stuff in there, because then that would be cool too. So say there's guys with you're surrounded by guys with 10 guns.
Yep.
10 guys, 10 guns. You're in the center of this. How do you get out of that? Slow down. Okay, let me scan. Let me see. What can I do?
You get some cool things too, even with remember in Matrix.
But you probably have a timer on it. You couldn't fight.
Yeah, it couldn't be the entire time.
You'd be you get 10 seconds.
But in the second Matrix movie, remember the twins that they could phase through things. So you would need to that's a mechanic that you have to utilize now, because you're going to fight them and they just phase through everything. So you just kind of slow down to get around them and
So it'd be so cool and interesting to see gameplay wise. I feel like it's something that we haven't seen used to its full capacity. Like I said, I mean, you just said they use it in the one games. And I'm just saying that
and even that's old though. And bringing that into modern day, it's always it's like movies and stuff. Nothing is original. We can take something and still make it fresh and new.
Yeah, you can make it better.
And that's the other thing. Yeah, because again, like you said, video games have evolved. Graphics are insane now. I've seen gameplay in games where I'm that's real. That's a person. That's real life. That was an actor. And it's nope, it's all computer generated. And it's that's crazy. How does it looks real? I can see the pores on the guy's face. What do you mean it's fake? Yeah, it's because the technology is just evolved.
And even when we're talking about this, turning things to video games, we could also talk about just animation. Not all animation is getting its own video game.
That's true.
And I think we should really there's some anime that gets games and whatnot, but even then I feel there's better ways to go about them, because most of the time they're getting fighting games.
Yes.
They're not getting story-based games, and I think it's a miss. So on the animation front, I know we talked before on our Avatar episode, which is not anime, we know.
Yeah.
But just talking about animation in general, we talked about possibly doing an Avatar game where you
The
can,
Last Airbender, yeah.
yeah, where you can create your own bender going through it, and then you would, yeah, if you like played, like you could pick what bending style you want, and then like you would go to unlock things like lava bending, steel, but like so you and but once you if you made a character and played through the story like platinum the game,
All 4 times, yeah.
then you can unlock Avatar state. So like,
Yeah.
because I love create your own character games.
Yep.
Like to me, create your own character is like the epitome of gaming, to where you feel so immersed in it. Like the Hogwarts Legacy game came out,
Yeah.
and I'm not a Harry Potter fan. To me, I mean, maybe like excluding Spider-Man 2, that's game of the year for me.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
Hogwarts Legacy, as I'm not
And
a
you know
Harry
what?
Potter
And it
fan, it
didn't
had
get
me so
nominated.
invested.
It didn't get any award. It didn't get nominated for anything really, which is crazy because it's and again I love the creating the character, and you pick a different time period that hasn't been done. You do the same thing with Avatar. Pick a different time period.
But you can go further in the future, you can go further back. Like
yeah, either way, and then like you said, picking if you make an Earthbender, and as you're playing the Earthbender, you're unlocking different abilities like lava bending and steel bending and
but
stuff
then
like
like
that.
you could also do like slightly choice based, because not every rock Earthbender can do steel and lava and
Yeah.
sand. Like that's all. So like be like, oh, if you pick steel's
It locks you
secondary.
out. Yeah,
you're
yeah.
not getting the other stuff.
But
So then there's also different things like oh maybe I'll go back and play the Earthbender
Again,
game,
and then
but I'm gonna pick lava so I can see what that gameplay is like and I can feel that out.
Yep.
So like there's
And then-
different things you can do.
like you said, you play through, you build 4 characters because you don't have to get every Earthbender, but you build 4 characters. You played the game 4 times.
But then your story's also a little more diverse too, because
Correct.
if you're a waterbender, you're gonna start in the water
in the Water Tribe, and it's a
Yeah.
different story, yeah. And I think playing through your reward for players is okay. Well, now you can play as the Avatar, and you kind of get to free roam, like GTA style free
Yeah.
roam, and all of the trees are unlocked for you. You're not locked out. You can. Yeah, you got locked out of metal bending because you chose to be a lava bender, or you got locked out of sand bending, but you get all of them now, and
Yeah.
you can just go through and wreak fucking havoc. And like think about there's replayability. You're getting people to play the game 4 different times, and then they're gonna play it again a 5th time as this OP and just go nuts in the
Yeah.
world. And I could see like CD Projekt Red, the people who did Cyberpunk and The Witcher, I could 100% see them doing like them making the game because of the level of custom, like on Cyberpunk, building your character and stuff like that in the world. The world's not changing. The world is the same. So really, like
It's all just your character gameplay. That's what's really good. That's what really is building the gameplay for different types of. Because you think about it, like the amount of of work that goes into moving a character.
yeah,
So and creating all these different movements. Now you have to basically create one character as an of its own, then create another character as an of its own. Special movements is kind of a totally different thing, especially because like usually even in Cyberpunk, like you guys all move the same.
yeah.
You would all have to move different. Like you have a completely different set of moves.
And then you're basically building a character, the Avatar, that can break the game, and but you have to design it so that it doesn't.
yeah,
By putting all of them together, and so like that, that's a challenge. It would be a challenging game to make, but I think it would sell.
and like this might be a stretch, and it probably would be way too much because that's a huge game in and of itself. But if you want to add in a little like PvP pro bending tournaments
pro
or something,
bending, yeah.
would be pretty cool. I mean, it'd be
Or
a lot.
even-
I don't think it's
Yeah,
feasible.
I could even see that as like a DLC, like hey, pro bending's coming to the game or whatever,
Yeah.
like after the fact.
Get with your friends, fucking get into some bending fights. That'd be
Yep.
pretty cool.
You can't use your Avatar character if you beat the game 4 times. You're still not allowed to use your Avatar.
yeah,
Like, you can't.
You have to pick one.
You have to pick one. But yeah, I could definitely see that's money on the table. Why aren't they doing that? Like that's like
I mean, they're building this whole universe, so who knows? Maybe they'll see this podcast. Somebody send it over to the creators of Avatar.
to Nickelodeon.
Yeah, and get us in the room.
I think the other thing, like even with Avatar, there's a ton of other like cartoons that I remember growing up with that could 100% be turned into video games.
You know, it's a funny one that it was a video game. I remember I had it on the the Game Boy. I remember playing it a lot. Was American Dragon Jake Long?
But that's, yeah,
I
fucking
played
great.
the shit out of that game. I'm not sure if it's a great game. Don't say
Yeah,
oh,
no,
you
no.
said it, David. Said
But
it
it's
was a good
fun.
game,
It's
but
fun.
I played the shit out of that game.
I could
that
see
game.
Danny Phantom
That could be fun.
Ben 10 would be really
Oh
fun.
my god, dude! Ben 10 is a video game using the Omnitrix.
Yeah.
Another one. It would be complicated to do because
Yeah.
you're getting into all those different.
But you know
modes.
what though? There's an in-universe explanation though. He can't transform all the time. You get locked out of it.
Yeah.
So like you're still limited on like, okay, you did 3 transformations. Like you're locked out. You're stuck as.
Imagine being in the middle of a fight and then you're stuck as Ben.
Yeah. No. Like then what do you do? What do you do? There's so many other cool. I can see Thundercats. Even
Thundercats would be a good one, actually. Yeah.
Transformers has had a ton. Thundercats is also one of those cartoons that like it's just kind of flown under the radar. Like it was big when it came out,
Yeah.
but it's gotten 0 adaptations. It's like, well, Thundercats would be a cool video. Could be a cool video game. Ninja Turtles has gotten games. Transformers, GI Joe's gotten like it's like Thundercats. You're not showing no love to the Thundercats.
Yeah, I guess that's true. And not even just childhood animation. I mean, you can talk about nowadays with anime. I mean, I mentioned at the beginning of this. I mean, anime mostly gets fighting games.
It
which
is.
is cool, but I would love to see some kind of story-based game from anime, even making it canon into the universe or something.
That would be cool.
Like we're talking. Both of us are big fans of My Hero.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's again. I'm gonna sound like a fucking broken record saying create a character. But a create a character mode in My Hero is perfect. Like it's a student in the school.
Dragon Ball's done that, where you build a character and you're in the Dragon Ball world. And I think honestly, Shonen is perfect for that.
Oh yeah.
Any Shonen, you could Naruto, One Piece. You people love pirate games, so why don't we have a pirate like One Piece? Because you get this other fantastical element because it's One Piece, And it's like, yeah, this is
like Assassin's Creed Black Flag, but just so much more exaggerated.
But like, yeah, you get like superpowers and stuff. Like, it's like, yeah, this would be super dope. A different style game, and I'm gonna sound like a broken record to you because I mentioned it to you before. One of the games I've been playing a lot of is, and they are popular because they're very chill games, but like Animal Crossing, Disney Dreamlight Valley came out. There's the other one of. Like, there's a ton of, like, just, like, life simulator games. I would love an anime mashup game that was just, like, yeah, you create your character, and then, like, you're just inviting these other anime characters to, like, live in your town as you build your town. And then, like, you can have different sections that, like, are a mashup of, like, yeah, this is, like, Leaf Village or whatever, and you have your Naruto characters here and whatever. But that doesn't stop them from, like, walking around and, like, now they're in this, like, water spot where you have, like, Luffy and all of like the One Piece, and you can have My Hero, like you can have all these different. You're building this town, and it's just a chill game. You get to sit back, relax, and like interact with your favorite anime characters without worrying about them like dying or kicking each other's asses or anything.
I mean, that's cool for you. It's not.
I would sit back and spend hours.
Before you would get them through non-franchise things, so it was just all about the life. But then Disney came out, and they did it. And that's what I think gets the wheels flowing. Like, oh, what else could I do this week, So, no, it's a cool idea. That's not for me. I don't think it's for everybody. But it could possibly be something.
I mean, I think, like, anime fans are looking for those mashups because, like Jump Force was big. People love the mashups of animes. But you lose a lot of characters because, for one, it's hard to do the fighting games. And then it's like, well, we got to balancing in fighting games is hard. But if you don't have to worry about that element and it's just these characters walking around, it's like, yeah, and you get to interact with your favorite anime characters, it's like, why not? JoJo's is there, and you get Tokyo Ghoul and whatever. And these characters that would never even, like, meet each other because, like...
more fun is that if you keep them in their art styles.
Oh,
so
yeah, absolutely.
Like, you go to different parts of the world and you're going through different art styles, and maybe even your character adapts to those art styles.
That would be even cooler. A lot more work, but yeah, that would be super cool. And I think... Sometimes I'm looking for a game that like I can put hours into, but at my own leisure, and it's like it's chill, it's laid back, and I'm not like I can stop and go. Like, yeah, I'm gonna put 60 hours into it, but I can stop and go at my pace and whenever I want. It's not like, yeah, I'm playing God of War or I'm playing the new Spider-Man until I beat it. I put 30, 40 hours in and I beat it. It's not like Final Fantasy where it's like I'm gonna put 80 hours in consecutively, and I'm not. You know what I mean? This is more like, oh yeah, I'll put 2 hours in this week. And then maybe, I play it longer on the weekend, the following week, whatever, just like slowly eventually have like 100 and some odd hours. And it's like, what? No.
And one that like, it just came to me recently when we're talking about these adaptations and whatnot. We started to mention it before we started recording, and like it was like one of those things like it was a throwaway idea to bring up here, and then we started thinking about like, oh my god, can I get this game tomorrow? We're talking about the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Now, Hunger Games, a book, movie, turning it into a video game could possibly, especially the new Hunger Games came out this year, be pretty cool.
Yeah.
To see like, because it wouldn't just be an action game where you're fighting. Like if you picked a character or you were given a character, you don't. This one doesn't have to be built a character if you don't want to. But if you're just like a different character that you don't have, you're not Katniss. Like you're just, you're a character from a year that the Hunger Games happened.
Yep.
And you get picked. So you go from the whole process, like the story you could build in a video game with being picked, going through, getting the bids, like winning people over. So you're doing all this stuff, training, picking what weapon you want, like doing all this stuff could be like
Having a mentor,
fun build up.
Yeah.
Dealing with your mentor, having emotional scenes, making some choice. It'd be choice based.
I could see the studio that did Until Dawn. Your choices change the gameplay, changes the outcome of the story.
Because so say if you're not schmoozing and kissing ass, you're not getting bids. So later when you're in the Hunger Games,
but if your stats are higher and like, well, I don't need to because my combat stats are high. What could be cool is what if when you start the game, your district is random.
That could be very.
That's gonna because now when you start, your stats are, or even if it's not randomly given to you, it's like, well, what district are you going to go with?
You get District 2 and be like, oh, I'm set. Or you get District 12 and be like, I got to work my ass off.
But even District 12 is like, okay, well, you get some of the lower districts who physically are like, yeah, okay, well, he was, he worked outside. He worked in steel and stuff. Like, he's strong physically. He might not be as smart as the guy, so you might not be building traps and poison like somebody from District 1.
But it's a cool thing that it would be different to where it's almost like survival. Like it's almost horror because it's a survival game, but it's also almost like a PvP like Warzone type of vibe because at the end of the game, when you get put into like the Hunger Games, there's 12 people. Well, there's 24 people.
24, 2 from each district.
Yeah. Yep. So when you have 24 people to go,
that's it.
But it's not. Oh, it's also not. You're not getting an AK or like it's not Fortnite. Like you're not picking up these weapons and chests and stuff. Like you're scavenging, you're foraging. You have to like if you want to grab the spear at the beginning, and that's what you're gonna get. You can hopefully get care packages. Like you can set traps. You can do intellectual things. Like it's not just. It'll be very smart, almost puzzly, trying to survive. Which I think it's cool. It's something we haven't seen before. Like it could be fun, and then. Possibly throwing in a mode where you have PvP,
like versus other players, and like playing against them, and it's like, well, you hedged your bets and you did all this work, and now you have no idea what the other player did. You have no idea what your friend did, and now it's like, all right, and which one of you is going to win? That could, and there's replayability there. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn out process of you like you're doing all this at the same time. You're trying to get the donations or whatever and stuff, and then when it comes down to the game and you're in the ring, you're in the arena real time, it's like, okay, well, you got your donations and what are you going to use with them? Are you just getting water? Are you getting food? Like what do you can have like these different meters for like you've gone hungry because you haven't eaten and you know what I mean, like your day cycle
too, because I need to have food because the Hunger Games is something that goes on for days.
Yep, and even you ever play Don't Starve?
That sounds so familiar.
You go in and like if you eat like you pick up, you're trying to survive. You create like a survival game and you build a campfire and stuff, and you pick up berries or there's like you pick up mushrooms and you eat them, and you have a meter that you slowly start going crazy because you picked up fucking hallucinogens or whatever. Like you could have something like that where you ate berries and it's like all of a sudden now you're sick and you're weak and you can't fight and now you got, you know what I mean? And now you got.
Or there's the people that were good with makeup too. So then you're like picking up a skill could be like the makeup, being a makeup artist. So like using certain.
You're bringing in a lot of like tabletop RPG elements into this of like you're building a character. You really are like your stats of like your charisma and all of these other things of like, all right, well now, and what do you have to show for it and what are you doing with it? And then there's also the panic, which you see in the Hunger Games movies, of like, it doesn't matter. Yeah, you can train and you can be ready to go, but the second then somebody comes at you and you forget everything you had, it's like, why didn't I use that donation? I could have bought that weapon.
Imagine the frustration of playing this game and you starve to death. Like no one
No,
kills
yeah, you starve to death. Yeah.
Like, I can't find food. Oh man.
Or you finally find like the food or whatever, and somebody's like in the trees, it's like sitting like predators. God damn it. What other and I'm looking at the list and I see one on there that I want to talk about because it also triggered me for another one. For video games to movies or television series, because I would do that as a television series, but you have Infamous written down there.
Oh my god, yeah. Infamous is a game that should have got 12 more games.
The fact that it hasn't gotten one yet is insane to me, and
Oh my God,
it needs one on the PS5. Like, we need a new game.
Yeah, I mean, it was a Infamous PlayStation exclusive.
PS3. Yep.
And came out. It was so like the gameplay. It's before a lot of these other cool gameplay games that you get nowadays.
Yeah.
Like to power based game with the way he traveled. You like using the power lines and
the lightning,
using the different ways to use the lightning, which were creative, and then the choice base of that, you get different powers depending on what you choose to do. Good and bad have different effects to them. Your power levels range. It was such a great.
Now that's
game.
an element you're gonna lose.
It is
live action.
It's an element you're gonna lose, but the story.
The story is still
like, It's almost like, him with his mutation is like he's an outcast.
Yep.
Like they're not good. Like the world is trying to make them extinct.
Yeah.
And his job is to rebel against it. Like you're X-Men. Like you guys are trying to be.
I think
killed.
the other. Like, you're gonna lose the whole like good or bad. Yeah, I mean, you could still make it great. You can make the story morally ambiguous of like, is he good or is he bad? I think The Last of Us does a really good job of doing that, especially in the show of watching, and you're like, who's good and who's bad? Is Joel the good guy or the bad guy? And it's left morally, it's up to you. And I think sometimes that can make people uncomfortable because people love to be told, hey, he's good. You root for him. He's bad. You want him to lose. People love just kind of that flat, like, because it's easier. When you have to think of, like, is this the guy that I'm really rooting for? Like, he just killed everybody. Am I still, like, do I root for him? It's like watching Breaking Bad, and it's like, I don't want to root for Walt. I don't. But you kind of do, because he's the lead. And you can do the same thing with Infamous, where Cole is this ambiguous, like, you can, all right, is he really, yeah, I understand he's like, they just attacked him, but then he killed everybody. Like,
yeah. And then what's crazy too is because then you have Infamous Second Son, which is like, it's a sequel game. Yep. It's not the same character. Removed, they're using like a legacy character type of deal, but not really like. And that game was also fucking fantastic.
Yeah,
which is not common. Like usually, if you're steering away from what you built, like,
well, even in those games with your choices change, whether you're good or you're bad and whatever. The major story points are still the same, regardless of what story mode you play. So, like, you can still do the adaptation. And Delson's a great character because you get to absorb other powers and use them, which, fuck, that's a character just screaming to be done on live action. Like,
oh my god. The powers in that game are amazing because there's also the DLC when you do play with the girl that, it was
First
the neon.
Light.
Yeah. The neon girl. So like her powers look great. Cole's powers look great. Dyson's powers look great. Like the power sets that they created in there were so creative. Like it wasn't just like, oh, super strength, I can fly. Like they weren't Superman characters. Like
think
they were
about how unique it is to say she can absorb neon light and then use that. That's such a cool and unique power set.
Also, the game ended on a cliffhanger.
It did.
Fuck you guys, whoever did that, because I never got another one.
It did.
What video game ends on a cliffhanger and does not give you another game?
Well, I don't think they're doing a Infamous game anytime soon because it's very. They did Ghost of Tsushima recently, and I think they're doing a sequel to that. So I don't know that we're gonna get an Infamous game anytime soon.
If I don't get one in my lifetime,
oh yeah, no, Ryan's
I'm gonna kill somebody.
The other game that I thought of after reading Infamous, and Infamous, I think it should be a TV series.
Yeah, no, it would
yeah.
work well as a TV series for sure.
You can spend more time and you can really like make it like, is he good, is he bad?
Explore
And, like,
the
tell
morality for sure.
I could see this as a movie, or it could be a series. I think either one would work. Prototype.
Underrated.
Games.
I love. Well, the second one's alright, but the first one,
Fantastic.
again, another one for the time. That gameplay so underrated.
Now,
you are basically moving like you're a symbiote in that.
Tell me this. Similar to what I said for DMC.
The changing of the weapons and all that stuff.
Well, not even that, but it needs to be an early 2000s style like movie or TV series. Like, I just feel like the practicality of it and just the action and like the way like the Underworld movies are made. Like it's dark, it's gritty, and it's like, but it feels real. You're still gonna use like modern day, so it's gonna look crisp and clean. But there's something about like those early 2000s, like that tone of it would fit. Of like it's dark, it's gritty, and that's what because it is.
I feel like that because it's also the time that it came out.
That's
how you envisioned it.
Yeah,
like that's how you envisioned it like 15 years ago. Like that's how you thought about that game coming out as a movie.
Yeah, I guess. So
like it almost stands true to itself. Like those graphics go hand in hand with that.
With the time period, yeah.
Like
yeah.
It feels right.
It feels like that's in. I would fucking.
But 100%, definitely, I would go with this exaggerated, gritty feel because Prototype's in Detroit.
I think so.
I think it's either
Detroit or Chicago. It's
one of the two. I know it's a Midwestern city. Like put like and that whole like almost everything in that game looks like gray.
Yeah,
like everything is so toned down,
and then you get the red,
so dirty,
like just
gritty.
the red. The red pops because everything is so dirty.
So like, there's so many things you could do cinematically with a game like Prototype, which again, such an underrated game. It doesn't get talked about. It doesn't really get love. And whether you want to say the game is great or not, the gameplay to me, gameplay makes a game.
Yeah,
because the whole purpose of video games is to have fun. Whether it's a horror game, action game, doesn't matter.
To play through it.
You want to have fun while you're doing it.
Yeah.
And to me, the best way to do that is gameplay. If something is fun to play, then it's a great game to me.
Yeah.
Even if like the story isn't always there, which I love a game that gives you good story, but if I have fun playing it, I really don't give a shit.
Like, I mean, look at GTA.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just fun to play. That's why you do it. There's no like you're not playing GTA Online. There's no story there. You're just running around. Like
it's just fun. It's all good fun, and that's why you can do it forever. To me, a game with a good story is great on the first play. A game with good gameplay is good for eternity. You can always go back to it because you'll always have fun. When you know the story, it doesn't always mean that you're going to go back to it. It means you'll appreciate it.
Exactly.
It's an album that's really artistic, and you love to hear it the first time through, but it's not in your rotation.
Yeah.
A game with good gameplay is always on rotation.
A game that, and I know it's not on the list, but it made me think of it because we said Chicago, and I know you love this game. And I don't know why we didn't put it on the list because I could definitely see it as a series, or even just a movie. Is Watch Dogs.
Oh my god, I love.
I know.
Watch Dogs.
I know.
It gives you the same feel as Infamous does because you're walking around, but it's so different because you don't have superpowers. You're a hacker. Similar to Infamous, I feel.
The creator of Mr. Robot, I could have him write and do Watch Dogs.
100%.
Yeah, I could see it. It's fitting.
It would be so cool. Another one, the gameplay was so fucking different.
Yeah.
Hacking? You're in a game hacking?
Yep.
What is that?
Taking down people.
It's not a thing that you saw before. And there's guns and there's stuff like that, but you're hacking. It's such a different concept that I love when that game came out. And even when the second one was just as fucking good.
Yep.
Another one. Give me another one. Make it a real franchise. Yeah, that would definitely work as a movie. Building more this is not too much story in it. Again, that's one. It's in the rotation because of great gameplay. Yeah. You could build a pretty good story around it too. Like you said, whoever created Mr. Robot, would kill that. They would fucking kill it. I don't know how long we've been running here. We got so many more listed. We're gonna try to speed through these.
I think going from Watch Dogs, I think it makes sense to talk about Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed got done dirty. They gave it
100%.
The movie was Garbaccio. That shit sucks.
Horrible.
But there's so much.
What a waste of Michael Fassbender.
Oh my god, yeah. There's so much opportunity there when you're talking about period piece films.
But all like
are pretty big now. I feel like they're pretty common.
are.
People love a good period piece.
they're
You can
big
do
budget.
any period that you want.
They're usually big budget. It
Mhm.
costs a lot to make because
But-
you're building sets.
A lot of times when you're doing a period piece like that, like people are looking for historical accuracies and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's cool, but sometimes it doesn't make for the most exciting movie. Now
True.
you take a period piece, you make it Assassin's Creed.
It's exciting.
It's
yeah.
exciting.
There's also, it's so weird because it's like the possibility. You want to pick any of these franchises we've talked about. The possibilities are limitless, like just completely, entirely. There's no limit to time period, location, just those two elements alone. You could pick any time and any place in the world.
Yeah.
Also, what are you doing? Why aren't you doing
It's a
this?
franchise built for film. Like,
Yeah.
you can make so many movies, so many TV shows, so many spin-offs, so many things that
Yes.
you could do with Assassin's Creed. That
And
could
you
really...
you can change it every couple seasons because one of the cool things that they introduced, okay, you play Assassin's Creed 1, you're playing as Desmond, he's your main character, so we have our main character cast, whoever that is, right? And then,
Another one, I think, TV show.
yeah,
Being a
no,
TV
TV show, for
Right,
sure.
but especially because then you can get that where you're switching people. So season one,
You're
is all
going
time-
through as
okay,
one assassin,
I mean,
yeah.
you might not go with any of the video game characters at all.
But let's
like,
just say-
season one's Altair, right? So then you keep going forward for the
Yes.
season two. I'm Ezio. Season three, you're Connor. Season
And
moving
you don't even have, it
forward.
doesn't have to be,
It would be so natural.
and it doesn't have to be that quickly either. You could do 2 seasons of Altair,
Yeah.
you know? You could,
When something gets stale, change characters.
yeah, Ezio, Ezio, okay, we're doing this, and we did Italy for 3 seasons, you know?
And then also like bringing in the concepts that like if you're still playing through Desmond or a character like Desmond to where you're in the future and you're running through the Animus and you're not like playing an assassin from back then, but you're playing as a player running through the Animus, then you also get that where you turn back to him. So that's the plot point that where you're going back and forth, like there's story inside of story inside of story,
And you're watching
and you
him
can do the
learn. And
flashbacks from that we saw in what game? Unity? Was it Unity?
flashbacks, yes.
In the for the Paris one, the Eiffel Tower and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, the glitches in the Animus,
That's Unity,
where
right?
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So then you can do that again cinematically, pretty fucking cool. Like something you can do there if you're telling that story of him going to be able to visit different like time periods, different people.
Yep.
all that
And
stuff.
even that you're still staying in the same location, but now it's like there's a glitch in the Animus, and all of a sudden, yeah, you're in the French Revolution, but now, you know, there's World War II happening, you know, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, this isn't the right whatever because it's a glitch. They did something similar in the later games with mythology and adding that element of like it's because of the Animus and it's this glitch
yeah,
and these
in
like different
Valhalla and in what's the Egypt one called?
origins.
Origins.
And also Odyssey.
Yes.
There's the Greek one. Yeah. So there's a lot that you can do and explore. And even if you pick the right time period, there's time periods that the games haven't even done. You can do the Spanish Inquisition. And that whole time period, there's a section of crossover in real life where like the Inquisition happened. Spain went over and conquered the Philippines and attacked there. And then they got too close to Japan, and Japan was not having it. But then also the witch trials happened at some point during this time period. That's also like the piracy was huge. Like you can do all these different things and branch off and tell all these different stories. Again, people love pirates. Black Sails was a huge show. Like why aren't and Black Flag was a huge Assassin's Creed game. People love that game. You can do this in a show. You can have, and then you're changing your location and changing up your different like elements of it, so it's keeping it fresh every time for people coming in season to season. Yeah, Assassin's Creed is like it's like a gold mine. They're just sitting on it.
Yeah, which I mean they're doing a lot more with it in the video game. I think we already had an episode talking about.
I think so. And I think
Assassin's
Netflix did pick up the rights to do an adaptation. What they're going to do with that and what's going to come of it.
I mean, we'll see. We have a couple on here that, again, we're going to try to speed through some of these so that we can get through them because they seem fucking amazing. Just real quick on this. Kingdom Hearts, I would probably turn it into an anime. Disney Plus, please make Kingdom Hearts into an anime. You guys have not really tapped into the anime community. You're missing a market. You have the easiest way to do it. Yeah. Make a Kingdom Hearts anime. It'd be so cool. Disney characters. Give me Cloud. Give me
Final
the anime
Fantasy.
type. Give me the Final Fantasy. It would be so fucking dope. I don't have too much to say on that because I think it just speaks for itself. We wrote down Percy Jackson. That's not really a movie. It's more known for the book series, but possible cool fucking gameplay. You're basically talking about God of War, but maybe in a different light, taking a different spit on it. You know,
a little bit lighter. Yeah,
something 100%. More family friendly, something cool.
Character creation could 100% be in there.
Also true, especially being in like Camp Half Blood and all that stuff.
And Percy Jackson has a wider universe. There's the Egyptian books. There's the Norse ones. There's this, but they all exist within. They all exist within one world. So you could really
big expansion there that you could do, and especially then there's again a lot of different types of things you could today I want to be a child of Poseidon, but tomorrow I want to be a child of Hephaestus. Like I want to do all.
And even then, if you branch it out in either a second game where you just make one
replayability, same thing as the Avatar game. There's a lot of replayability.
You can also make it we're expanding it. Maybe your dad is Thor, or it's Loki, or it's Anubis, whatever. You can expand this. I could actually see it even changing the gameplay, making it like the Hades game that came out, where it's a roguelite. So. Yeah. You don't need to worry about the graphics being super. You can you're going through and you're fighting whatever, and you're going through these different locations and stuff, and you can kind of change your character. The replayability again is really high. The more I talk about it, the more I want this Percy Jackson game.
Yeah, there's a lot of places you can go with that one. What else? This one is. I know this is your brainchild. Nightmare on Elm Street. You've been excited about this one.
Nightmare on Elm Street. I want it made the same way that they did Alien Isolation. I want a single player game. Where Freddy is just this, and you have like an insanity meter, where you're playing through, and it's almost like Amnesia has it, this where you slowly go crazy, and as your meter builds up, you see more things or whatever. And again, the idea of what's real and what's not can be done so well, where it's and it's a horror game and you're going to scare people I don't know if that's real. Did I really see that? And even if you did or you didn't, that's part of the core gameplay, and you're going to scare a ton of people. And Freddy, you can have Freddy chasing you around. Alien had a really cool system where the system they had for the alien being able to find you, whatever, there was always a certain set distance and stuff between you and the alien as you played the game, and it could find you. You can do stuff like that. Also, you could not. Did you know that Freddy's only in 7 minutes of the first movie?
Did not actually know.
Think about how impactful he was in 7 minutes that he was only in it for that. The whole movie's about him. He's killing all these 7 minutes of screen time in over an hour film. That's crazy. That's what an impact. Why aren't we? Freddy is ripe for doing and messing with people's heads in a way that you can't really with Michael or Jason or Leatherface, because you're not messing with reality. It's still real. You can change the entire world. You can even have it be where you walk into the room and it's different than it was before. It's why is this room different? You know what I mean? Or trying to figure out the way out of certain rooms and stuff, and the doors disappear, and you can really, really mess with people and scare the fuck out of people, which is what I want.
Yeah, another almost because they already have a Friday the 13th game, but when you think about it, in the original Friday the 13th, it's thrash slasher. Jesus fucking Christ! It's a slasher, but it's also murder mystery, because in the first movie you don't know who's committing the murders. You're trying to they're trying to figure out about also surviving.
Yeah.
And then the next ones, you actually get, because it's Jason's mom. So because she's the she serves the food, I'm pretty sure, at the camp. I forget. But in the next movies, it's Jason because it's a giant brooding guy.
Yeah.
Fucking sack and then a hockey mask. But in the first one, so if you do a game that has a murder mystery element to them, a horror game with a mystery element to where you don't know who it is. It could also be a cool thing, Clue, but with a more of a horror twist, giving you some of them pop scares, giving you something cool, something more modern that'll appeal to people today than just who was it, Sherlock Holmes. You don't want that, but you want something,
Yeah, no, that would be awesome. I think there's a ton of different ways and routes you can go. I think sometimes the people that are the creatives behind making decisions for adaptations we've seen it before with video games to movies where they think, oh, video games are just action. That's not true. A lot of it, there's a lot of story and there's a lot of nuance there.
I think originally, like, that could have been true, but I think there's an evolution to video games to where you're getting so much more nowadays. And I mean, you have to think of the jump that it had. Like, nobody's had a bigger jump than video games. Like, when video games came out, it was Pong.
Yeah.
It was just hitting a ball back and forth.
Now
you got into action and fighting and all these things. Well, I mean, first you make your evolution to like simpler games like Mario and Pac-Man and things like that, and then you get into like fighting games like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, things like that, and then you get into like real story, like long-term based, like long gameplay type of games.
I think the other thing that's hard is you do a video game adaptation, and movies are inherently a lot shorter than a game is story-wise, and you're trying to crunch 60 hours worth of story into a 2-hour block. It's almost impossible. With TV having, now it's more serious, and it's just as big as film, and like how seriously it's taken and like it's respected, and the budgets are also there. I think a lot of video games would probably serve better as TV series, like Mortal Kombat.
100%.
Why isn't they keep trying to do Mortal Kombat movies, and it's like, you're limited on your cast. Whereas if you do a TV series, you could have an ensemble cast and not worry about, like, you can spend more time building up the tournament and introducing these characters. And then if you want to you spend all season building up the tournament, then you do a movie. That's the tournament. You know what I mean? And then you go back and do the show and you build up to the next like thing.
That's true. There's a lot there that you can do.
Yeah, and then you don't have to. You do the movie. You don't have to worry about like, oh, we got to introduce Sonya and explain why.
And then
it's
just a character jumping in the frame usually and be like, oh, now I'm fighting this person.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's definitely better ways to go about it, and a show would probably actually be way smarter. Yeah. I don't know how long of a tangent we just went on, but I think it's time for us to end this episode because you're probably tired of hearing all of our pitches. But if you know anybody that's trying to adapt some video games, let us know. Maybe we can pitch some stuff. But let us know in the comments and DM us what are some of your favorite video games, video game movies, and what would you adapt personally. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, what movies do you want to see get turned into?
Yeah, so we'd love to have those dialogue with you guys. So thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Beer and Skittles podcast, and hopefully I'll see you next week.
Catch you on the next one.